I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that's a damn good looking bike. And you're right. So let's talk about it. So let's start with a walk around of the Can-Am Spyder. This is the 2016 RT Special Series. I got the Special Series because it had 3 shades of black. There's a matte black, a glossy black, and then I believe a flat black on like the seats and the running boards. So I really liked that. I'm not a chrome guy. I don't like to polish chrome. So the black wheels that came on this bike were a big plus. Everything you see is straight from the factory. I've made no option modifications or anything like that. So this is exactly how every 2016 RT Special Series comes. The overall look of it just looks like Batman's car and motorcycle kind of merged together, and this is what they came up with. So one of the neat features about the Can-Am Spyder is what most Spyder lovers call the frunk. The front trunk, or they call it the frunk. And the frunk is good for just a little bit of storage. It's not that big. Right now I have my backpack in there for my camera, and that pretty much takes it all, fills it up. It does not hold a helmet. I wear an extra large helmet, and my helmet will not fit in there. My girlfriend wears a large helmet, and her helmet will fit in there. It's the full mask modular type helmet. So in addition to the frunk, you have 2 side saddle bags and a rear trunk. And that's just a jacket I have popped in there. And again, the side saddle bags I have found are not big enough for my full-size modular helmets. The rear trunks are operated right here. You have the key. This is the same key that works for ignition. You can lock them, and then you have the standard little 3-button configuration here to open them. You can close it and lock it, and then your stuff is relatively safe in there. This is the dashboard, fairly standard. I think there were some models that did not come with the extra gauges. Like over here we have a temperature gauge. Here's your tachometer, your speedometer, and then a fuel gauge. I think a lot of Can-Am Spyder owners who are into customizing remove the temperature gauge and the fuel gauge, because you can get that information on the little mini screen that's right here. When we turn it on, that lights up and shows you a lot of other information. This is where bulkier controls are at. This button here that says Eco, let me focus in on it, that says Eco, is a mode button that you use to change the modes on your little display in the middle. And then you have a set button that is used to set various things. And then you have a traditional, what gamers call a D-pad, for it covers all directions, up and down, left and right. And that just helps you make adjustments and make other selections on the display panel in the middle. Right here, this is your windshield up and down. Now I think this is a feature that is optional on some of the other Can-Am Spyders. This will raise this windshield a few inches, about 3 inches up and down. I can really tell a difference when I'm on the highway with it. I just swallowed a bug, thank you very much. I can tell a difference with it when I'm on the highway because it does affect the amount of air hitting me in the chest. So usually if I'm going at a slow speed and it's kind of warm, I'll lower it down to get more air onto me. But if I'm on the highway or something, I raise that puppy all the way up. This is obviously horn button. Did not know it would work without the car on, the bike on. And then this plus This is a little thumb paddle. This is how I ride usually, is with my thumb just right on there. That is your shifter. That will, the plus means it'll upshift your gears, and then if you can look to the back, you can see the minus sign, and your fingers just kind of rest on it. It's very ergonomically designed so that when your hand is on here, your thumb naturally sits there, and I can't really get it, but and then your finger will naturally sit on the minus sign. That is for shifting. I have an automatic, so I only have to upshift. If I wanted to, I could ride this bike the rest of my life just by pushing this button. This will upshift for me. You do have to upshift. If you don't upshift, it'll sit in first gear until it explodes. The minus sign likewise will downshift. You don't have to downshift. It's optional, but I generally don't. About the only time I'll downshift is if I'm going to pass somebody. I might downshift to a lower gear, give it some gas so I get a little bit more pep. This PTT button here, push to talk, only matters if you have a CB. I don't have a CB, so I don't ever press that button. So this is just a dead button. Okay, so then the R button on top here is a reverse. I would push in the brake, push down the reverse button, and then hit the minus sign, and that will make it go into reverse. Now just below the dash we have some toggle switches here. This first one is the emergency brake. You have to turn this on or off every time you get off the bike. If you don't put that on, when you turn the motorcycle off, a loud beeping noise will ensue, and it is very loud, and you will feel like an idiot if you don't turn that on before you turn your bike off. This next one is the heated grips. This is an optional feature. This is the area where you'll notice most of the differences on the Spyders. A lot of the things here are not on the other Spyders if they're not a higher end model, especially these last three. Every one of them had the parking brake, but these other three are optional, and I've never seen anything in this middle one. So this is heated hand grips. Very hot hand grips. On high, when I test drove it, I didn't know what it did, and I test drove a model that had it, and of course while I was looking at it, I was flipping switches like a little kid. I accidentally had this on high, and as I drove, I thought my hands were going to melt, so it works very well. This next one here says hard and soft. Yeah, I'm not going to make a comment on that, but this will allow you to increase or decrease the stiffness of the shock absorber that's in here, and again, that's an optional feature. So usually if I'm riding with two of us on here, I'll put it a little harder, and if it's just one of us, I'll leave it a little softer. And then this last one is just some fog lights that are on here. Okay, over here we have hazard lights, pretty self-explanatory. We have a kill switch, which if you've ridden a motorcycle, you know what a kill switch does. I don't ever use my kill switch. I leave it in the run position all the time. Mainly it's just for emergencies, if you need to kill your bike all of a sudden. Right here, this here is your cruise control. It's a left and right switch. So right here all the way to the left is off position, and then to set your cruise control, you push it to the right, and that kind of gets it in the ready position. So you set it by pressing down, and then you're using cruise control. Now you do have to be going over 40 miles an hour, and there's a few things that'll cancel it, such as tapping the brake or shifting gears. That will cancel the cruise control. To resume it, you can just press up and you'll resume. Also, while you're under cruise control, if you need it to be a couple more miles an hour faster, you can just press up and that'll increase it 1 mile per hour. Or if you're going too fast, you can just tap it down and it'll slow it down 1 mile an hour. And then of course here, like most motorcycles, is your twist throttle. And this button right here, which is kind of hard to see, but this is your starter. So when you're starting the motorcycle, this is the button you press after you turn the key and do the brake and all that good stuff. Down on your right foot, that is the brake pedal. There's one brake. There's no front brake or back brake. There's just one brake, and that's it. Going to the passenger seat, she has some controls down here, and these are some more optional controls. These controls here will control her music, the volume, the station, but quite frankly, we don't ever use these. And if you go to the other side, she has controls for heated grips here, and these grips here are heated, and she can control those heated grips herself. Now, if you're wondering what all this is here, this is my Ram X grip mount for my cell phone. This is a water bottle holder. This right here is not factory. This whole little bracket that goes around the handlebar, that is a Le Monster Spyder cuff. It is not standard. I added that to it, and I'll be doing a review on it at another time. So let's talk about how you start a Can-Am Spyder. First thing I do is I press on the brake. So I put my foot on the brake. Next, you turn the key to on. And this will start your Can-Am Spyder doing its little startup routine. And I still have my foot on the brake at this time, because one of the next things you do is take the brake off, the emergency brake off. So I just press that button and the emergency brake is off. Now, I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if I can focus it. There you go. Before operating, read the safety card. Can-Am has put a safety card built in to the dash, so if you forget any safety operating procedures, here it is. So every time you start it, it pops up with that warning, and nothing happens pushing the start button until, let's see if I can get it zoomed in again. Press mode button. See that bottom line there? Press the mode button. That's this one right here that says mode on it. So you got to press this button, and then all of that goes away, and now you have your more traditional, you have your dashboard look. And now if you press the starter button, she's up and running. You have a traditional neutral indicator, which is why you keep your foot on the brake, because if I let off, I'll start rolling right now. And then to go, there's no clutch, no nothing. I just press the plus sign, and now we're in gear and we're ready to rock and roll. And it does tell you what gear you are in. Let me turn the cruise off so that disappears. That right there is your gear indicator. That lets me know I'm in first gear. I don't know if I can shift gears sitting still. No, I can't shift gears. Then I have a trip odometer and a regular odometer. As you can see, we have the RPMs and the miles per hour displayed, external temperature, the time, and as you can see, this is the tachometer is redundant because it says it right here that we have 900 RPM, and that matches up with what our tachometer says. And then our speedometer, which goes to 200 miles an hour, but I think that's for our metric folks who want to drive in kilometers. But it's duplicated right here with that big 0. That will tell me my miles per hour. So that's how you start it. So to turn it off, all you do is press this button. That puts the parking brake on, as you can see by the red light. Then I can let off the brake now, and I turn it off. And we're good to go. The lights stay on for just about 10 or 15 seconds after you turn it off. But let's look. I'm going to start it back up again now. I'm going to leave my emergency brake on so that I can focus more on what we got up here. So now I'm going to use the mode button over here to go through the different screens. Okay, so here's the user device. So you can plug a USB cord in the back. It's in the back trunk. So if you wanted to plug in your iPhone or other smartphone or iPod, you could play the music right through there. The next one is for your various trips. You have two resettable odometers, trip A, trip B, and as you can see, the orange arrows here, that relates to what I'm pressing over here. If it's the orange arrows pointing up and that's the option I want to change, then I'll push this button down, left, right, etc. so let me get back to it. So trip A, trip B, and then you can reset them, you can pause them. I don't know why you'd want to pause them, but you can pause them. You can reset it just by pressing down, it'll reset it. Go to trip A. So I use these, I usually set one of them for my fuel, so I kind of get an idea of how many miles I've gone on a gallon, or on my tank. The next one is like your preferences to set up, so you can set the display, you can change whether it displays RPMs, or just all kinds of stuff. Here's where you set like the clock. Let's see if you can get that. You set the date, you can set various formats, so you can see each screen goes to the, here's the far left is your main screen, and then here's options you can change, and then you can even change between miles, kilometers, whatever, languages, audio setup, and then you're back up to the contrast and displays. So I didn't really mess with too much of this. I like military time, so I've got it set to 24 hours. I set the day and the date and that various stuff. And if you press a button again, it takes you back to the main screen. And if you don't press a button, if you just sit on one of these other screens for a while, like if you're adjusting your trip odometer, if you just sit here for a while, it'll eventually revert back to the main screen. So that's usually what I do when I'm riding. I don't worry about trying to get back to the main screen or anything. I just keep on riding, and eventually it'll switch back. There you go. So I think that's all I need to show you on the dash itself. A lot of people do some customizing to it. If you get a, some models have a mount right here that goes in this hole, and that's where the GPS sets. I do have a Monster Spyder dock. Let me go ahead and turn this off so you can hear me again. I do have a Monster Spyder dock that mounts right here, and then could use this hole to add a power outlet or whatnot. I'll do a review on that on another video. Along with this Spyder cuff, I'm going to do a review on the Spyder cuff. So there you go. That's the basics of how to operate your Can-Am Spyder. It's very easy to operate. I mean, you throttle with your right hand, you brake with your right foot, you shift with your left thumb. That's about all there is to it. So that's the 2016 RT Special Series and all of its bells and whistles, if you will. I love the RT. I love the look of this bike. I love the flat black, the 3 shades of black. I love the touch of orange right under the nose. This is the only bike that I've seen that has that little splash of orange. Again, it just looks like a futuristic Batmobile or something. I love operating it. Super easy to operate. Love the black wheel look to it. This is just a great motorcycle. It's so easy to operate, and it just looks so badass. I love it. How can you not love this machine? I do get a lot of strange looks when I'm riding around, but I've kind of gotten used to it. I don't worry about it anymore. Kind of noticed it at the start of it, but it doesn't bother me anymore, the looks, so I don't worry about it anymore. I think I'm about to get ran out by security, as security is driving up. Or maybe not. I think he's just wondering what I'm doing. Thank you for not running me off. So I get a few looks, but I don't care anymore. It used to make me a little self-conscious at the start, but not anymore. So I wanted to show you how low this windshield can go. If you look here, I'm trying to do this. It's about a hand width high from the top of the dash. So I'm going to lower it all the way. And now you can see it's dropped a few inches. It's kind of gone forward too, so it's, my hand is a little bit more flatter than what it was a while ago. So you can see the arms down there, they kind of move it out and down. But like I said, I use it at slow speeds. I'll put that thing all the way down, but when I'm on the highway, I'll raise it all the way up. Now let me show you what happens when you don't. Let me take the emergency brake off so you can tell when the emergency brake is on, it blinks at you. When it's off, it doesn't. But here's the embarrassing thing: when you you're filling up at gas at a crowded gas station and you forget to put your emergency brake on before you turn the bike off, you get this annoying beep that draws everybody's attention to you. And the thing is you can't put your emergency brake on while the bike is off. So you got to turn it on, then put your brake on. And now everybody is, of course, looking at you and you're feeling like a complete ass. But anyway, so one more thing. Everything on there is plastic. Everything you can see, I should say, is plastic. So to clean it, I use a simple thing. I use Pledge. I have some microfiber cloths, and I just spray Pledge all over, and it buffs it up and shines it really nice. The microfiber keeps it from scratching what most people call the Tupperware, and it just cleans it real quick and easy. I use it over everything, all the way back here. Okay, so, stupid bugs, get out of here. So let me tell you about a couple things that I don't like other than these bugs that are flying around. Most motorcycles have the gas tank right here, the fill-up part, the gas cap. So you can actually fill up your motorcycle without even getting off the bike. You can just pull right up to the pump, unscrew it, put the hose in, fill up, and go. On the Can-Am Spyder, the gas fill-up port is underneath here. So you have to take your key, it's in the off position, you have to push down and then twist to the right, and then that'll allow the seat to come up. And then with the seat up, you can see the gas cap is right here, nicely attached so you don't lose it or forget it. So that's the first thing I don't like. Mainly because sometimes I just want to pull up, put a few dollars of gas in and go on, and I don't want to mess with having to get off my bike, or maybe Kelly's on the bike with me. It's not a big deal. In fact, everything I'm going to talk about that I don't like about the Can-Am Spyder, they're not deal breakers. No, not even close to being a deal breaker. They're more of annoyances. They're things that, yeah, they probably could have done better, but they're not going to change my opinion of the Can-Am Spyder. The other thing I don't like is how you open the frunk. Again, you have the key in the off position, you push down, and this time you twist it to the left, and then the frunk will open. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me, maybe I haven't broken in enough. I have the hardest time with that. I usually have to do it 3 or 4 times before I can get the frunk open. One of the other things I already talked about was the space for helmets. Not big enough. If you have a half helmet, or maybe even a 3/4 helmet, it'll probably fit in here, but if you have a larger modular helmet, it's not going to fit in here. Especially if you have like a Cena bracket or anything else that sticks out, it's not going to fit in here. So that's one of the things that really bugs me, is that we can't put our helmets in here when we stop. What I've done is I've gotten some little bike locks that I got off of Amazon. And since the modulars have that piece that goes right here, I'll run the little bike lock through here, through the little piece on the helmet, and then I can just leave them on the bike and they're locked up. I guess if somebody really wanted to get the helmet, they could unscrew a few things and take it, but it's not worth it. So the little bike lock seems to work pretty well for us. It's still a pain in the butt. Can-Am could have made those about you know, mine only needs about another inch and it'll fit in one of these side things. Can-Am could have made them just a little bit bigger, and then we could have put 2 helmets in here whenever we ride. But as it is, we got to lock them up to the outside. Don't like that. Not a deal breaker, just don't like it. Probably the last thing I don't like about the Can-Am Spyder is they're so new, they're so cool that not everybody can work on them. Just about any shade tree mechanic can break down a regular motorcycle and do some maintenance on it. But most guys don't have a clue when it comes to the Can-Am Spyder. Taking these mirrors off takes an act of kung fu. There's not some screws, you just bang on them and they come off somehow. And then there's all this Tupperware. You got to take all this plastic body off to get to the engine and the other components. And not everybody knows how to do that. So I have to take this to a BRP dealer, Can-Am dealer, whatever, who has a trained mechanic on duty who can do that. Closest one for me is about an hour away. So yeah, if I'm going to get an oil change and just a look at it, I got to drive an hour, leave it there, either find something to do for a couple of hours while they work on it, and then come get it. Kind of a pain in the butt. Again, not a deal breaker, just something I don't like. I wish we had a dealer here in town. It'd be a lot nicer, and maybe we will one day. But right now, the closest one is about an hour away. Last thing I don't like about the Can-Am Spyder, again, just an annoyance, is there is no power module outlet. That means there's not a cigarette lighter outlet, there's not a USB port outlet on the bike, on the dashboard area. And it's 2016, people. Everybody has something that is powered by either USB or a cigarette lighter outlet. I can't believe that on a 2016 model, Can-Am didn't think to put a USB port or the cigarette lighter 12-volt port is what they call them, 12-volt outlet up here on the dash so that we could charge our phones. They know everybody has these X grips. These are everywhere. Almost every motorcycle owner will put one of those on their bike. So Can-Am knew that, so why did they not put an outlet up front? In the back here, it's getting kind of dark, I don't know if you can see it, but here we have a 12-volt power outlet. And then over on this side, you have two cords. One is a USB cord, and one is, like an earphone jack. So you can plug your smartphone in here and run it through the speakers of the Can-Am, or you can plug it into like the headphone jack here, and again run it through the Can-Am. So Can-Am put a 12-volt outlet back here, and they put a USB port back here, but then your phone is way up there. So what good does that do you way back here? Now some people do have a 12-volt outlet in the front, and that would be a lot easier to run a cable to. What I've done is I'll plug a USB cable in the back trunk there and kind of run it under the seat. I'll raise the seat up, run the wire under it, and then have it come out right by my X grip mount. But again, come on, they could have put one on here. Right there, could have gone right there, been no problem at all. But again, minor annoyances. So everything I talked about that I don't like about the Can-Am Spyder, again, is just minor annoyances. Conveniences, they're not deal breakers. I can't tell anybody why they shouldn't buy a Can-Am Spyder. I don't have anything but good things to say about it. So if you're thinking about buying a Can-Am Spyder, I highly recommend you go down to your dealer, test drive one. That was the deal maker for me. Is I had thought of buying a Spyder for, oh gosh, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years, but I just didn't know if I'd like it or not. And then I went down to a dealer in McKinney, Texas, test drove it, and within 2 minutes I knew I was going to buy one. It was just a matter of finding the right one then, which one I wanted. Did I want the RS, the RT, did I want the manual, did I want the automatic? I test drove. I highly recommend you test drive the manual, test drive the automatic, because a lot of that's just personal preference. I don't have any reason. There might be some fuel economy you can get if you have the manual, but to me it's not a big enough deal to worry about. It really just breaks down to personal preference. Do you like the shifting? Do you like the clutching? I'm more into just enjoying the ride. I want ease and convenience, and so that's why I got the automatic. But I highly recommend you go test drive one today. Check it out, see if you like it.